This is CNN.
Good evening, everyone. As Larry has said, and we are now hearing reports, air raid sirens are going off in Baghdad. We're also getting indications from our correspondent there, Nick Robertson, that it is very possible things are underway. Nick is on the phone. Nick, in Baghdad, what can you tell us? Nick, it's Aaron. Can you hear me? Cameras that are set up around the city. It is early morning there, very early morning. The sun yet to come up, as you can tell. Nick, it's Aaron. Can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
What can you tell us, Nick?
I stand by.
Nick, go ahead.
Go ahead. Well, what we heard here in Baghdad a few minutes ago were the air raid sirens going off. We could hear in the distance around the city the sound of anti-aircraft guns being fired. No indication at this time that there is any air campaign ongoing, other than the fact that the air raid siren went off. The anti-aircraft guns started firing from several locations around the city. It is still very early in the morning here. The streets are quiet as they have been all night. The city, this time, is still a city that has all its street lights on, even though the sun is just coming up here. As far as we can see at the moment, the city does not appear to be under attack, but the air raid sirens did go off, and Iraqi anti-aircraft gun positions did fire into the air about 2 or 3 minutes ago. I don't see any trace of fire. I see trace of fire flying through the air past this hotel. Yeah, now heavy bursts of anti-aircraft gunfire coming up from the cities, coming up from across the city. Heavy anti-aircraft gunfire coming up at this time. So far, we haven't seen any major detonations at this time, but it does appear that Iraq's air defenses at least perceive that they are under threat at this time.
Nick, we are now able to also hear, I gather through the phone line, the same anti-aircraft fire you are hearing. Just stay with me. We expect...
That's correct. You may be able to hear the anti-aircraft gunfire erupting across the city. From where I'm standing, the anti-aircraft gunfire and tracer fire appears to be coming up from at least half a dozen locations across the city. Bursts of the red tracer fire flying up in the air, red tracer fire, yellow tracer fire, coming from multiple points across the city.
Nick, I'm going to interrupt you here. All right, I'm going to interrupt. Ari Fleischer, the president's spokesman.
The opening stages of the disarmament of the Iraqi regime have begun. The president will address the nation at 10:15.
Well, that is about as simple and direct as it could possibly be. The opening stages of the disarmament of Iraq, the words the White House chose to frame this in tonight, has begun, and the president will address the country in a half an hour from now, Thursday morning, now just after 6 o'clock in the morning. The president of the United States, for the second time, is about to tell the country that it is at war. He did it on a Sunday when the war in Afghanistan began in those months after 9/11, and in just a moment he is about to do it again. Here is the president.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
My fellow citizens, at this hour, American and coalition forces are in the early stages of military operations to disarm Iraq, to free its people, and to defend the world from grave danger. On my orders, coalition forces have begun striking selected targets of military importance to undermine Saddam Hussein's ability to wage war. These are opening stages of what will be a broad and concerted campaign. More than 35 countries are giving crucial support, from the use of naval and air bases to help with intelligence and logistics to the deployment of combat units. Every nation in this coalition has chosen to bear the duty and share the honor of serving in our common defense. To all the men and women of the United States Armed Forces now in the Middle East, the peace of a troubled world and the hopes of an oppressed people now depend on you. That trust is well placed. The enemies you confront will come to know your skill and bravery. The people you liberate will witness the honorable and decent spirit of the American military. In this conflict, America faces an enemy who has no regard for conventions of war or rules of morality. Saddam Hussein has placed Iraqi troops and equipment in civilian areas, attempting to use innocent men, women, and children as shields for his own military, a final atrocity against his people. I want Americans and all the world to know that coalition forces will make every effort to spare innocent civilians from harm. A campaign on the harsh terrain of a nation as large as California could be longer and more difficult than some predict. And helping Iraqis achieve a united, stable, and free country will require our sustained commitment. We come to Iraq with respect for its citizens, for their great civilization, and for the religious faiths they practice. We have no ambition in Iraq except to remove a threat and restore control of that country to its own people. I know that the families of our military are praying that all those who serve will return safely and soon. Millions of Americans are praying with you for the safety of your loved ones and for the protection of the innocent. For your sacrifice, you have the gratitude and respect of the American people. And you can know that our forces will be coming home as soon as their work is done. Our nation enters this conflict reluctantly, yet our purpose is sure. The people of the United States and our friends and allies will not live at the mercy of an outlaw regime that threatens the peace with weapons of mass murder. We will meet that threat now with our Army, Air Force, Navy, Coast Guard, and Marines, so that we do not have to meet it later with armies of firefighters and police and doctors on the streets of our cities. Now that conflict has come, the only way to limit its duration is to apply decisive force. And I assure you, this will not be a campaign of half measures, and we will accept no outcome but victory. My fellow citizens, the dangers to our country and the world will be overcome. We will pass through this time of peril and carry on the work of peace. We will defend our freedom. We will bring freedom to others, and we will prevail. May God bless our country and all who defend her.
We're waiting for a statement from the Iraqi president, Saddam Hussein, that we expect to see on Iraqi television shortly. We saw a moment ago that the Spanish Prime Minister Anzur would be addressing the people in his country. Spain was one of the co-sponsors of the resolution that never was, that second resolution at the UN, but he has been a staunch supporter of President Bush's and the policy, and was with the president in the Azores for that summit with Prime Minister Blair on Sunday, and he'll talk to his people as well. Jamie McIntyre is at the Pentagon. Jamie.
Well, Aaron, just to recap a little bit about what we know here as we've been piecing this all together throughout the night. This was a Tomahawk cruise missile strike and a strike by F-117 stealth fighters at targets in Baghdad and south of Baghdad. Here we see one of the cruise missiles fired from the USS Donald Cook, which was in the Red Sea. There were also missiles fired from a submarine in the Red Sea and an Aegis cruiser in the Persian Gulf. More than 40 cruise missiles total were scheduled to be launched in this attack.
Jamie, I need to interrupt you here. Nick Robertson, what are you hearing in Baghdad?
Aaron, the air raid siren going off here again in Baghdad. This is about 2 hours and 20 minutes after the initial air raid siren went off. From what I am told here, this is an air raid siren, not giving the all clear, but an air raid siren warning that a raid is coming. The siren there.
Well, and it actually
just winding down as I speak to you, Aaron.
Well, but we were actually, Nick, we were able to hear some of that as we were able to hear some of the anti-aircraft fire a couple of hours ago. Just stay on the line, and we're probably 10 minutes or so away from hearing whatever the Iraqi president has to say. Jamie, I interrupted you abruptly, I hope not rudely. Why don't you go ahead and pick it up where you were?
Well, I was just saying, we saw some of the cruise missile strikes that were launched. In addition, F-117 stealth fighters. This was what one Pentagon official called a target of opportunity, a location where it was believed that very senior Iraqi leadership was located, including, an official says, Saddam Hussein. The hope was that they would be able to take out some of the Iraqi leadership, including perhaps Saddam Hussein, and vastly simplify the task of trying to prosecute this war against Iraq. At this point, we still don't know the results of the strike. It was something that was planned at the last minute, essentially signed off by President Bush at the White House this evening and carried out, even though the plans for the start of the war that was supposed to be a very robust start did not call for those plans to start tonight. So,
Jamie,
go ahead.
I'm sorry, Jamie, is the news lid on at the Pentagon?
You know, the Pentagon never has a lid. It's not like the White House where they put a lid on and everybody goes home. At the Pentagon, people just kind of drift out at the end of the day. There's always somebody here. And for instance, unlike the White House where they kick the reporters out at a certain hour and tell them to go home, you can stay here at the Pentagon all night. There's always somebody here.
Let me ask the question, let me come at it in the opposite direction. Do you have any sense that in the next few hours, we are going to be reporting from the Pentagon the beginning of a major operation? Is there any activity there that suggests to you that that's going to happen?
No, in fact, we've been giving every indication that that's not going to happen, including, as I said, several senior officials who I've reached at home told me essentially they would not be at home if this was what they're calling it A Day. The first day of the war they've tagged as A Day, and several officials told me, quote, this is not A Day.
So just again, Jamie, the sense is that we could be many hours and very possibly a day or more from the beginning of the shock and awe.
Yeah, it's very likely that when that happens, it'll start at night. In order to take advantage of the advantage the military has at night, the cover that night provides. And so I would expect that we're at least until the next nightfall before you'd see the begin of a major bombing campaign that's supposed to have more than 3,000 cruise missiles and precision-guided bombs raining down on Baghdad to create this shock and awe. But again, if it turned out that they had seriously damaged the leadership and that something else happened in Iraq, they may want to wait and see what the effect is of this strike.
Well, we're going to find out possibly some of the effect of it in a few minutes when Saddam Hussein goes on TV, though what we would expect, he'll appear on the TV channel that is owned by one of his sons, Uday Hussein. These speeches tend to be very full of verbiage. Certainly he will attempt to rally the country, rally the military. His mere presence is important in how this day plays out in Iraq. It was just before 10 o'clock Eastern time that Nick Robertson began reporting. I guess it was probably closer to 9:30, 9:35 Eastern. Nick Robertson began reporting that there was anti-aircraft fire, some explosions that he was able to hear. We have some tape of that now that we're able to look at. If we can put that up. These are the first time that we've seen these pictures. You can see the explosions in the background, in the distance. It was just before daybreak in Baghdad. You see the flashes. In every earlier picture we had seen out of there, all we had been able to see was the anti-aircraft fire going up, the tracer fire going up to the sky. And so in just a span of 40 seconds, is about how long that tape went, we were also able to see, as you look at Baghdad this morning, Thursday morning for them, as we approach midnight here in the east, the first time we were able to see anything that had come down, any explosions that had come down. As Jamie McIntyre has been reporting, 2 cruise missile targets one to the south of Baghdad, an attempt to, in the jargon of the military, decapitate, go after the leadership of Iraq, a target of opportunity, a decision the president signed off on early in the evening, 6:30-ish, if I remember John King's reporting, 6:30 or so in the evening. He gave the go-ahead after the intelligence came in. I'm sorry, go ahead, say that to me again. Okay, thank you. The president signed off early this evening, went back to the residence, talked to his speechwriter, said it is time to go to work, and go to work they did. 10:15 tonight, the president went on national television to tell the country that the opening stages, to use his words, the opening stages of the disarmament of Iraq was underway, and made clear that it was simply that, the opening stages of what will be a broad attack that will begin sometime down the road.
All right, we seem to have lost our feed to Baghdad literally just a few moments after the Iraqi President Saddam Hussein began his address to the nation. Of course, we are working to get that link back up for you. I believe it is back, so we'll continue listening.
1424 هجرية ارتكب المجرم الأرعن بوش الصغير هو وأعوانه جريمته التي كان يتوعد بها العراق والإنسانية. يردف فعله الإجرامي تعاون معه
and the act of those who helped him and his followers. This is added to the series of their shameful crimes against Iraq and the humanity. This is a start for other additional crimes. O Iraqis and those who care in our nation, sacrificing for you and for the values of our nation and the banners of fighting and for its religion and for the soul, the family, the son. And here I will not repeat what should be said. It is a duty on all people, good people, repeat what has to be done to protect and defend this dear nation and the values and sacreds. But I will say to each, this is a must on all of us, but I say on any of us, on each of us in the family of Iraq, the believing, the honest family that is being treated unjustly by its enemies, on all of us, on each of us, we have to remember what was said and what was pledged. And these days will go as God wills. These days will add to your record, your bright record, O you male and female dignified people. This is your share of dignity and victory and everything that will raise the status before God and will let infidels down, the enemies of humanity and God. And that you will be victorious, O Iraqis. And with you are victorious will be with you are the people of the sons of your nation, and you are victorious with the will of God, and your enemies will be in humility willing.
اطلق لها السيف لا خوف ولا وجل.
Go, you sword. I'm not. Draw your sword, and I'm not afraid. Draw your sword. The enemy is making a fuss, and the enemy will not be stopped except by. Let the rains be let go anyway, but hope is there. Let thunderstorms go until the guidance appears and injustice goes away. And let Don't be the way to confront all bad, and pull your trigger and keep the fire on. Draw your sword. No one will be victorious unless he is a man and a brave man. And prepare a banner and call for the way of God, that the wound will heal quickly. Dear friends, those who call for evil in the world, those who fight evil in the world, peace be upon you. You notice how Bush, the careless, underestimated your values, that you declared against the war, and your honest call for peace. And he committed this shameful crime this day. We pledge in our name and in the name of the command and leadership and the name of the people, the fighting people and its heroic army, in its history and record of civilization. We pledge that we will confront the invaders and we will get them to, God willing, to the limit where they will lose their patience and they will lose any hope in accomplishing what they were driven to by the Zionist, the criminal Zionist, and those who have agendas. They will go to the lowest levels and they will be defeated, a defeat that we hope for them after they went far in injustice and evil. We love peace and we are working towards this peace. Iraq will be victorious, will win. And with Iraq, our nation and humanity will win. And evil will suffer from what makes it incapable of doing any evil or crime at a level similar to the American Zionist alliance against nations. And at the forefront is our dignified nation, Arab nation. God is great, God is great. At the beginning, at the forefront is our nation. God is great, God is great. And live long Iraq and Palestine. God is great, God is great. And our Arab nation, dignified nation, let that nation live. And the human brotherhood, let it live with those who love peace and security and the right of people in freedom according to justice and equality. God is great, and let the losers lose. Let Iraq live. Long live jihad and long live Palestine.